أرواح العالمين له الفداء واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان ليقوم الناس بالقسط. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Recite the second salawat louder, please. اللهم صل على محمد. Okay. With the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we shall continue a very important discussion that we already started talking about it yesterday, which was the second expected rule of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam in the society, which was the establishment of the government. So we already opened up a little bit introduction to this discussion. I came up with a question which was very important. I think that was, if we assume the establishment of the government by a ma'soom, by an infallible imam, is a role expected by God, and this is actually the very reason that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down the prophets and successively Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, is to actually, establish and found a government. So why Ali ibn Abi Talib in the beginning has refused when people in the year 35 came to him and presented actually the caliphate and this position to Ali ibn Abi Talib after Uthman was killed, and then firstly and initially he rejected. We went through a very important sermon uttered and stated by Ali ibn Abi Talib in the book, that he started, describing that very atmosphere that he was into. That it was very difficult for almost 25 years. Everything has been not only changed, not only transformed. We can say from the genuine Islam, everything, or we can say to a very great extent, was distorted, was altered. So that very ideal society founded by Holy Prophet in Medina, and then later on delivered to the coming generations, to early Sahaba, to companions, and then something that has taken place in this period of 25 years, and then again presented to Ali ibn Abi Talib, was totally different. So the society that Holy Prophet led, Holy Prophet governed, and Holy Prophet started to establish was something, and then the society of Muslims that was delivered to Ali ibn Abi Talib was totally something else. According to the sermon that I told you yesterday, Ali ibn Abi Talib said, wow, it was very difficult even for me to imagine that I will be the leader of this society that has been given to me, and then I start those reforms that I think that are necessary for the society. And I'm sure that so many people will resist. The underlying layers of this society have been corrupted so much that they are not enduring actually the changes that I want to come up with. Those fundamental transitions that are important, vital for this society to be revived again, we can say that. So in any case, again, in order to explain the situation more, and then also to explain and describe the very role of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, let me just draw your attention to some of the verses in Holy Quran that who said actually in the very first place that this is the duty and responsibility of Ma'sumi to establish a government. Who said that prophets and then later on Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, they are expected to establish a government? And who said so? Because already there are some intellectuals that they reject this very idea. They say that, well, Ma'asumin, they are here in order to invite us to spirituality, to hereafter, to divine unity of God, to prophethood, and those stuff and things. And they have nothing to do with the social merits. They have nothing to do with the standards of living. For example, like an imam, like a lecturer here, my responsibility is to do what? My responsibility here is to come here, deliver the lecture every night, and also to remind you of some of the fundamental beliefs and principles and moral merits of the religion of Islam, and then that's finished. And it is all, the rest is upon you, whether to practice them, to implement them into your life or not, okay? But then when we talk about the establishment of the government, it means that I have this priority and I have this right to sometimes intervene to your even private life. When I say that I have this opportunity, as Shaykh Mazen also yesterday pointed out, so it means that sometime I can come and then I can decide for you what to do, what not to do, what you should do, what should you not follow. So these are all the, we can say, consequences of establishment of the government. So sometimes we say establishment of the government. Okay, yes, Ali ibn Abi Talib should establish the government. The Prophet had to establish the government. But what does it mean? Does it mean only a government and then it has nothing to do with me, but with my personal, for example, interests? It has, of course, many things to do with my personal interests as well. So here, like, in chapter Hadith, verse 25, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clarified the issue about his prophets. And then later on, you know that, well, the gap would be breached by saying that Ahlul Bayt are the true representatives of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So whatever we attribute to Holy Prophet as his responsibility would be the same with his representatives as well, okay? So here in this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلَنَا بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ. We have sent our messengers and prophets بِالْبَيِّنَاتِ, means with manifest proofs, with very clear evidences. وَأَنزَلْنَا مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْمِيزَانِ. And then we have sent with them also, not alone, but also with the book, Holy Quran. Mainly it's a true translation of book. And then wal-mizan. So I went through different translations of this verse. I have found that they translated this term al-mizan to be balance. Okay, so they have to come up with book, Holy Quran, and balance for the society. But then what I literally prefer over balance is that mizan, literally speaking, would be scale. Okay? And then it has come, or it has been derived out from a very, we can say, important source, an important infinitive word, which would be a kind of distinguishment from tamyiz, from mayyiz. Mizan means to distinguish two things. So when we put something on the scale, we want to distinguish which one, for example, is heavier over the other, which one, for example, is thinner over the other. So this kind of differentiation already matters to us, okay? So it means that when messengers they have sent to us, they have come with book and then something to distinguish. And then I will explain why they should distinguish. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسِ بِالْقِسْطِ. So that they provoke people, they will intrigue people, let's say, to come up with justice, okay? To establish justice. So this is what they say. There are some differences between adl and qist. لِيَقُومَ النَّاسَ بِالْقِسْطِ. Why it has not been mentioned لِيَقُومَ النَّاسَ بِالْعَدْلِ. There are some differences between adl and qist as well. As they say, the very true implementation of adl would be qist. So qist means already something that society implemented. Okay, adl is more a matter of concept and mind, but qist is something that has been practiced already. It's something that society has founded upon. Okay, so qist means already that they will come with something that will go through the society. People will resort to it. Then they will just implemented. So here we do have qist, and then it is so much equivalent to the term adl. Now the question is, according to this verse, they have been sent to humanity and mankind in order to revive justice. Then the question is how they are going to establish justice and found justice in the society. Like, for example, a prophet who is coming every night, for example, and delivering the lecture in the mosque for the people. Now it will be the implementation of the establishment of the justice, or it needs something else. It requires more than this, to be a simple, let's say, role model, to be a simple symbol. Let's say that, okay, we do need, for example, a lecturer, like a prophet. I'm talking about a prophet. The society will say we need a lecturer, a role model, only whenever we see him, we'll remind of God. Whenever we talk to him, so a good feeling we will have. This is the utmost level of the presence of a prophet for some people. So they say that, well, that is what we need. But then according to this verse, the establishment of justice needs and requires more than this. Not only إني بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق, I have been announced for the people in order to be the, let's say, symbol of morality for people and ethical life. No, this is not the case. So add needs, of course, if I want to establish justice in a government, if I want to establish justice in a society, I need to already found a government. Okay. Here, Allama Tabatabai interpret this verse by another verse. You know, we do have different interpretations, systematic interpretations. So it is not only I will open up this book and this is interpretation. We do have different systems of interpreting Holy Quran. One system would be, for example, I will interpret Quran by ahadith. Another system is that I will interpret Quran by another verse of Quran. So we say that this is a book that has been compiled by the Prophet. So I should not only stick to this specific verse. There are also other verses as supplementary to this specific verse. So this is what Allama Tabatabai has done. And then he is about also to interpret this specific verse. He has mentioned, we do have another verse in Holy Quran in chapter 9, verse number 90, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded humanity to come up with justice, ihsan, of course, to come up with good deeds and good actions to others, and إِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى, to also come up with charity, okay, to donate others, especially the ones that they need. Here he has mentioned that, well, justice is very important. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wisely has prioritized justice before good actions even. So sometimes we say, okay, let us be a good person. There are no any differentiations and different opinions in this respect. Okay, to be a good person is the ideal stage of a person's life. But then before that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned that you have to come up with justice. Why? Do you know that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prioritized justice over goodness? The reason is that, and then Allama Tabatabai magnificently has explained this kind of sequences that we will find between Adl, Ihsan, and Ita'ad al-Qurba. And he's mentioned, let me just read the Arabic text and I will translate it to you. And it is really surprising. And I think it would be very to the point for so many of us. He has mentioned, سعادة الشخص مبنية على صلاح الظرف الاجتماعي الذي يعيش هو فيه. Means the prosperity and felicity and bliss of a person, individual, is highly dependent on the very society that he is living. Okay, so means that Allah salah al-dharf al-ijtimai means that society should be A very good society should be exactly built upon, let's say, the religious ideals. So that society will also guarantee my prosperity as well. So there is a kind of reciprocal relationship between individual and society. So the prosperity of an individual will help the society, and then also the goodness and welfare of the society will help the individuals also to follow their prosperity in their life. And then he said, this is also what made me, several times I have read these lines, but then every time that I read this is very surprising to me. وَمَا أَصْعَبْ أَنْ يَفْلَحَ فَرْدٌ فِي مُجْتَمَعٍ فَاسِدٍ أَحَاطَ بِهِ الشَّقَاءُ مِنْ كُلِّ جَانِبٍ. This is so difficult for those individuals that they live in already a corrupted society to be religious, to follow their religions, to be good people. So if, for example, we have justice in one hand, and then we do have corruption and cruelty and oppression in another hand, now I think this explanation of Allama Tabatabai will completely clarify the issue that why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prioritized adl and justice before goodness. Means without justice, we cannot apply the goodness in the society, because goodness refers to individuals. If I want to be good to you, the society should be good. If I want to act in a very respected way with you, if I want to respect my parents, if parents also want to respect their children, if each individual of the society want to preserve others' rights, the society should be good. Okay? And then he will also, consequent on that, will say that if, for example, you live in a corrupted society already, and then you are good people, it is like a miracle. If you assume yourself in a corrupted society, and then corruption is not only like we say social corruption, it would be a political corruption as well. It can be also the moral corruption as well. So different examples of the corruptions. Okay? So sometimes we live in Islamic society that the society is corrupted, politically speaking. There is no any guarantee for that. Now what's going on in so many Islamic countries, let's say. So we cannot say when the name has been entitled and coined to a specific given society, I can say, okay, now the society is ideal, now the society is a very just, for example, society. No, corruption has got different instances and examples, one of which would be the political corruption. If, for example, I live in a country that I will see the politicians that are corrupted, thousands of the dollars, millions of the dollars every day are going to be robbed from this society, and then bribery is everywhere. And then I cannot have a very, we can say, immunity and safety of my life to think that, okay, my future or the future of my children are granted here in this society because the politicians, they will work only for people. When there is not something like this, so I cannot act in a very religious way. I cannot be good to you because there is no any health, there is no any social health, let's say. There is no any immunity, there is no any safety. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that previous verse that I already recited to you has mentioned, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ first بِالْعَدْلِ, and then afterward goodness, ihsan. But this is very important, I think. So we have come to this conclusion that indeed and certainly justice is one of the requirements, one of the demands. Or we can say every prophet has got this mandate to apply justice within the society. And it is not achievable, it's not attainable without any government. Okay. So they have to establish a government. Okay. When this is the case with the prophets, let alone the case with the representative of the prophets. So this would be also the responsibility of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. They have to also do the same. Or I can say they have to maintain already what has been established. Maybe this is another better understanding of the duty of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Means already Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has established a government. I don't know why today I have problem with establish and establishment. This is, I think, the third time. So has founded and established the government, and then this is the duty of Ahlul Bayt to maintain, to continue that, what already has been founded. So now again, let us refer to our early question. Why Ali ibn Abi Talib? Now, we have come to this clarification that Ali ibn Abi Talib had this responsibility to accept, although it was postponed, although it was not in its proper right, appropriate time. But in any case, after 25 years of isolation for Ali ibn Abi Talib's life in the society, in Islamic society, which in its own place was a mere oppression toward the closest person to Holy Prophet. I don't want to go to those details, but anyhow, after 25 years, he had again this chance to attain what already has belonged to him before. Why he resisted? Why in the beginning he rejected? So there is another sermon of Ali ibn Abi Talib involved here that needs a complete focus on it. Here in this sermon, Ali ibn Abi Talib is trying to say that, okay, I've been stuck between two options. Whether to, when people came to me, and then first I rejected, just because I could see what is going to happen next, what is going to take place next, those three wars. These are something that were predictable for Ali ibn Abi Talib. He could see that, he could foresee that. Okay. But then what happened that he rejected first? He said that because I had to come with some changes, transitions, transformations for the society that people might not endure. And then I have to explain more that what are those corruptions that really took place in the society. And then when we say that this society was not anymore the society of a holy prophet, why we would say that? One of the examples is that in the time of second caliph, the narration and quotation of the hadith from holy prophet was banned. Like now we do have the American ban over 6 countries that they are not allowed and permitted to enter the United States. So much was the case with the second caliph. So what he said that, okay, from now on that I'm the caliph, you're not allowed and permitted to quote a simple statement from holy prophet. Why? Why? Holy prophet is my prophet. I'm not allowed to quote, I'm not allowed to state a simple statement from holy prophet. Why I'm not allowed to narrate something from my, let's say, dearest person in my life? So these are different, I can say, parts of a whole puzzle and a strategy that I will assume that then later on really ridiculed the mind of the people. So they were not those early Muslims anymore. And then what happened even after the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib, that in Syria, that the Muslims, they have already received an infiltrated Islam, version of Islam, Muawiyah Islam, that I would call it. So one after another, we have to follow all these sequences, all these parts, all these, to make that comprehensive puzzle understandable to us. Inshallah, I shall continue this discussion. I'm sorry if you will think that it is a little bit theoretical, but at the same time, I think it would be good for having a very good understanding of the history, that what happened. And then coming up with, I think, good analysis of that. Thank you very much for your patience. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of Al-Truth Imam. As the program is always, stay with us. We shall continue our discussions more. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi tahirin. Allahumma salli ala